Hi guys, this is Aqua Supreme here back with another video. First of all, I just want to say thank you to everybody subscribing and liking the videos and watching them. It really helps me a lot and I really appreciate it. So if you like what you see, please hit the subscribe button, watch the video to the end, it does help a lot, and leave a like. We will be talking about filters. Which filter do you need? Which filter will work best for you, and all about filters. To start off this whole process, we are going to be looking at the different types of filters that you guys get out there. So what each category entails is mechanical filters are your filters that you get, your physical filters that you have to clean out every once in a while, that basically suck up water from the water column and all the yucky stuff and the debris in your aquarium water gets stuck into the sponges or whatever may be inside of that specific filter. It is important to remember that these filters have to be cleaned out. It's like if I could compare it to something, it would be like a trash can. It fills up and it fills up and it fills up till you eventually have to take that trash bag, that plastic bag, out of the trash can and throw it away. So you do basically the same with your filters by washing them or rinsing them off in old aquarium water, or if your tank has been cycled through and is mature enough, then you can do it in normal clean water, but I would still recommend doing it in old tank water. Then we get biological filtration, which comes in the form of live beneficial bacteria or aquarium plants. Aquarium plants are like in the name. They absorb the nutrition out of your soil or your fish waste, and they use that as nutrition for them to grow. Then we do get our chemical filtration. Chemical filtration comes in the form of purigen or activated carbon that basically pulls out impurities out of your fish water or your aquarium water. The thing about chemical filtration is it doesn't last long, it saturates very quickly. It does remove that yucky fish smell or that aquarium smell that you guys get, and it does pull out chloramines and chlorines out of your water. But the negative that you have to remember is it does break down your beneficial bacteria that plants use to grow. So it is important to know that you can't have activated carbon inside of your tank where you got live plants, because it will eventually kill them. Alright, now to finally answer your question about which filter to use and which would be best recommended for your usage, and that basically just depends on what you like and what would work best for your tank, what would filter your water the best out of all these filters that I'm going to mention now. But firstly, we got our sponge filters. They are well renowned and used by many people. Even I use sponge filters. So what it does, there's a sponge that is attached to an air pump that pumps air through the sponge filter, and what that sponge does is it pulls the water from your water column through the sponge, and all the yucky stuff and the debris in your water gets stuck to those sponges, leaving clean water coming through the pump. Clean the sponge filter by taking out the sponge of the sponge filter and washing it out or rinsing it out in old aquarium water that you gathered from doing your water change or whatever. The good things about this sponge filter is that it is cheap, it is reliable, it doesn't break easily. There are not many components that go into this thing that could break or that are fragile. It provide a gentle flow for your fish, such as your betas or some type of fish that doesn't prefer a high amount of flow. These filters work perfectly, so it works perfect. The only negatives I have about the sponge filter is that it does take up room in your aquarium and it is not very appealing to the eye, but I don't mind them. You can easily hide them by adding plants or hardscape or whatever in front of your sponge filter. And then also the bubble noise that these sponge filters make can be irritating to people, but you can fix that or get rid of that hard bubbling noise by placing attaching the airline tube to a to an air stone, and placing that into your sponge filter, which makes smaller bubbles, which makes less noise. Then we get our internal filters. What these filters are basically these small filters that are placed into your aquarium that suck up water as the sponge filters. You can place any type of biomaterial or sponge or foam or whatever you want into that internal filter. It sucks up the water, the impurities or whatever gets stuck on that biomedia, and clean water goes through, usually through a spray valve. The good things about this filter is it is not that expensive compared to your other filters that will come later on. It is easy to use. You just place your biomaterial into that filter and you basically plug it into any source of power and then it works. Bad things I have about this filter is that it is same as a sponge filter inside of your tank, so it is hard to hide and it can be unappealing to some people, but you can try and hide it by placing long stem plants or placing rocks on top of each other to cover that or hide that internal filter. I would also not recommend this filter and the filters that I'm going to be talking about next to breeders, because they are big enough. The intake of the filter is big enough for baby fish to get sucked up, and it is also not recommended to fish that have weak fins or don't like to swim that often, so just keep that in mind. Then we have our hang on the back filter. So what this filter is as stated in the name, it's a filter that you put on top of the glass of your tank, usually at the back, preferably at the back, and it has an intake that pulls up water, same as all the other filters, and the bad impurities get stuck in that biomaterial that you place into the hang on the back filter, and clean water comes through, usually in the form of a waterfall, which I kind of like. I like seeing that waterfall going through, or I like seeing that waterfall going down. The good things about this filter is that it is easy to hide. Well, not easy to hide, but it is at the back of your tank on the glass, so it doesn't really come into the shot of your aquarium itself and the water itself. It is not that expensive, but I wouldn't recommend it to anyone that is going to have multiple tanks, because then it does become a problem of expenses. And then it is also easy to clean. All you have to do is take that biomaterial inside of the hang on the back filter and you throw it away and replace it with new one. Bad things I have about this filter is it can overflow and leak next to your tank, so just keep an eye on that, because you really don't want to come home from work seeing water laying next to your tank or water spilt on top of your power source or on your power source. The intake, such as the internal filter, is big enough to suck up baby fish, or can irritate and cause stress to fish that don't have strong fins and don't like swimming and don't like high flow. So keep that in mind. And yes, now we are moving on to the canister filters, and what they are these big filters that are usually used by aquascapers or people who have tanks that are 4 foot and above, that really help clean out the water on a much higher level. Basically how this filter works is there is an intake and an outlet tube that are called lily pipes, and what this does is water gets sucked through the intake, goes down, usually you hide it in a cupboard or a cabinet underneath the tank, and it goes through a bunch of biomaterial and whatever that cleans out that water, and then through an outlet goes back into your tank, but now leaving all the bad impurities inside your tank that you have underneath, or your compartment that you have underneath, and clean water goes through. The good things about this filter is that it is big, so it does clean your water much better than your smaller filters and the filters that I talked about earlier on. And they are customizable. There are canister filters that come with built-in heaters into that filter, so no heater is needed inside of your tank, which can also be unappealing. The cons about the canister filter is that it is really expensive. You have to keep your budget, or you have to budget up for this filter, and in some cases where your power might go out, because that filter isn't inside of your tank, the beneficial bacteria will die easily, giving ammonia a bigger chance to spike, and then it is very hard to clean because of all the biomedia inside of that canister filter, so it does take a while to clean out. But other than that, I would recommend this filter to people having large tanks or that have fish that poop a lot. And then we get our live plants. So what are live plants? They are aquarium plants that you place into the substrate, or you can float or glue it to a piece of hardscape. The good things I can say about aquarium plants and why I would recommend it to anybody is that it does provide cover to your fish. It gives you more time in between water changes, and it provides more oxygen to your fish. The bad things I would say about the aquarium plants, if there are any, is basically just that because it is a living being or a living organism, you have to know how to keep these plants alive, and it does require some maintenance, such as trimming if the plants get too big, but you can easily trim the plants, replace it in another tank or somewhere in your tank, and when it gets too much, you can sell those plant trimmings, which can provide an income. And that is it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you liked what you saw and you enjoyed it. Please, if you have anything that you want to tell me or can give me some additional information that I missed, please leave it in the comment section down below, and I will see you guys next time. Peace out.